In our film opening, we have used the psychological horror genre, which also contains various conventions from psychological thrillers such as Memento. For example, we have used a voiceover in order to help explain the story, just like in Memento. This shows that we have used various techniques which have helped produce a successful opening scene in the industry. For our leading character models, we have decided to use characters like Leonard Shelby from Memento and Arthur Kipps from The Woman in Black. This is because they all seem to create an eerie atmosphere, trigger suspicion, and have abnormal behaviour. By looking at these characters, we were given an idea of how we should portray our character in the eyes of an audience, so we could show our main character's devastation and agony through the way that he walks and his facial expressions. In addition to that, we had used a male character as leading character because we wanted to appeal to a female audience, as it would give the audience another reason to watch the film. In an ideal world, we would have used actor Brad Pitt because he's both a good actor and his looks appeal to a wide female audience around the world. The genre that we chose was a psychological horror. It is a subgenre of horror, which relies on characters' fears, guilt, beliefs, and eerie sound effects. Despite blood being a typical slasher horror convention, we have challenged it by using it in the way that doesn't take away the psychological aspect of the film, but rather implies mystery and adds depth to the storyline, engaging the audience into the film even more. This has also added emotion to our opening by making the audience almost feel sorry for the character's wife. Our movie only has 3 main characters, in which one of them is dead. The main character is a grieving male, and the antagonist is also a male. The wife is represented in a very stereotypical way, as she's been killed by a male character. She is dominated, despite not acting in any of the scenes. This is a typical way of representing women in Hollywood psychological horrors, such as The Woman in Black, because she is shown to be vulnerable. This is shown in the voiceover when the male character talks about his dead wife. The male character is represented in a very stereotypical way, as he is presented as vulnerable and not being able to cope with his problems. This is a typical representation of widowed males, as it follows what you expect them to be like. On the other hand, he opposes stereotype because male characters are often represented as a dominant character in psychological horror. For example, in Memento, the main character is a dominant male. The final character then is the antagonist, who is mentioned once in the voiceover. A glimpse of him is also shown in the final scene of our film. Despite this, he is still described as a dominant male, as he has killed the main character's wife. During pre-production, we started thinking about what companies would be best suited for the production and distribution of our film. We researched different movies and past products from the media department in order to help us decide what institutions we would use. When we researched, we found 2 companies that suited our film in particular. These 2 companies were Film 4 and Hammer Films. Firstly, Film 4 is a free British television channel, as well as an independent British film company. We wanted our film to be produced and distributed by a British company because the conventions of our film opening are best suited for a British audience. Since Film 4 not only deals in small British films like ours, it could help bring our film out into the market. Also, since it's a British company, our movie would easily fit into Film 4's area of expertise. Another company we have chosen was Hammer Films. It was founded in 1934 and it is best known for having a series of Gothic films in the 1950s to the 1970s, and also having a variety of British actors. The company also specialises in distributing horror films, and as a result of that, was recognised by the Warner Bros. Company, which was then signed in partnership to continue producing great films. Another reason why we chose Hammer Films was because it had recently helped distribute The Woman in Black. This relates to our movie as it was a really successful psychological horror. The company is also an independent British company striving for success with high ambitions. Our film has a low budget but aims to achieve a mass profit, just like The Woman in Black. The audience we have decided for our media product was teenagers aged from 16 to 17, both males and females. We have done a survey on SurveyMonkey in order to find out what best suited our film genre. We have found out that a psychological horror appeals to late teens and young adults. Also, younger audiences are restricted to watching this kind of genre due to the age limits in cinemas. As for the gender, our research has shown that psychological horrors are watched by both genders equally. This is different to our predictions, as a majority of horror films would be dominated by a male audience. This shows that the stereotype of women not watching horror films has decreased. Due to our film being aimed at both genders, we have conventions which appeal to both. For example, in our research we have found out that having an attractive male actor would appeal to a wide female audience. As an example, in the movie industry, we used Guy Pearce as he played a widowed male in the movie Memento. Initially, he is portrayed as very vulnerable, but throughout the movie, he becomes more assertive and starts dealing with his problems in his own way as he regains his memory. Despite our movie being primarily aimed at teenagers, with the right marketing strategies, it could possibly also be aimed at a more sophisticated and mature audience between the ages of 30 and 40. In our film opening, we have used various conventions in order to attract both sides of our audience. We have done this by using appropriate costumes and props with our audience in mind. The blood we have used in the scenes with the wife is a very appropriate prop, as it is used in such a way that it plays with the audience's emotions and feelings. This may appeal more to a female audience in particular, as most of the time they are more susceptible to the emotional aspect of films. Another way we have attracted our audience is through the setting we have used. Since we have filmed at a train station, this could have more realistic effect rather than just filming in school. This also shows that we have thought about what setting we were going to use and made it more suited towards our genre, therefore linking in with our audiences. Also, we have learnt from our preliminary task that a match-on action shot is very important because it improves the overall quality of the film. The use of camera throughout the opening is linked in with how we have attracted our audience. For example, we have used a match-on action shot throughout the entire film opening, which allowed continuity and improved the quality of the film. This attracts the audience because if the movie flows and is well made, it will become more successful. During these past few weeks, we have learned how to use various pieces of technology. Firstly, we have used a camera which gives us a much higher quality recording than the school cameras. One of the features of the camera was an automatic steady mode, which allowed us to film scenes without having to use a tripod on location. It also made scenes a lot smoother than they would normally be. For example, the scene when the camera pans and follows our main character is made a lot smoother by the use of the steady mode. A piece of software we have used is called Final Cut Pro. This was a vital piece of software we use for video editing and has improved the quality of the opening. It helped us create special effects and stitch and cut our clips together so we can show continuity in our opening scene. We have also sped up and slowed down our clips, which helps some of them fit in with the atmosphere. Also, with the use of the program, we have input titles and transitions to help the audience understand the chronological order in which our opening happens. During the editing, we have also added diegetic and non-diegetic sounds. We learned that music plays a key role in creating an atmosphere within the horror genre. It adds suspense and keeps the audience interested. The music that we have acquired is from the LGFL audio network, which provided us with a very appropriate soundtrack. When we were making our movie, we developed a lot of skills in comparison to our preliminary task. For example, looking at the camera work we had done in our prelim, it is a lot worse than how it is in our film opening. This is evidence to show that we had developed our camera work and have learnt from our previous mistakes, such as using the camera falsely. Another thing that we have improved on is the use of mise-en-scène. This includes costumes, props and surroundings. We have gotten positive feedback regarding our costume from our teacher because it was fitting well with the genre. This is a vast improvement from our preliminary task as we didn't have much time to prepare all the suitable props and costumes. This also enabled the film to be more realistic. On the other hand, during our preliminary task, we have learnt very basic yet vital components of movie making, such as the 180-degree rule and the importance of shot reverse shot. During the filming of our opening, we tried sticking to the rules in order to maintain consistency. Also, whilst doing our preliminary task, we have learnt editing basics. Despite the scene only being 30 seconds, it had given us a starting point and something to develop and improve on. Overall, The preliminary task has given us a starting point on how we can construct an opening scene. We have then developed the skills we have gained in the preliminary task and reflected it upon the opening scene.